In a world where losing in your fantasy football league isn't an option, we present to you Triple Coverage Podcast.
Hey YouTubers, if you like what you see, make sure you click subscribe below. Today we're going to do our Thursday night triple threat bet, and it's Thanksgiving weekend, so gobble gobble.
That
could have been like the plane train that
In a world where losing in your fantasy football league isn't an option,
Stardust,
present to
right?
you
Yeah.
Triple Coverage
That's a great movie. That's what
Podcast.
made me think of it. You're like gobble gobble.
That's for the smile.
Yeah.
Take that, you get me that.
I don't care. Yeah.
The wheel of punishment.
It better be water.
While he's sitting here, I gave
Are
you
you
a towel
almost ready,
somewhere
Jack?
over
Yep,
there, so
ready.
we do want to wipe up. I'll try not to get the equipment in my pocket here.
2,
Estadio Azteca?
And we are back. Not in Estadio Azteca, but we're back in the TCP studio. This is our Thursday night triple threat episode.
Smells like stuffing in here.
And I'm thankful that spray ball did have water in it.
Yeah,
So,
it did. It got in his mouth a little bit.
just to clear up the mystery on that was water.
Yes.
I'm thankful for that. It could have been jalapeno juice.
What
for
do
all I
you
know.
What are you guys thankful for?
I'm thankful for TCP, and I'm thankful also because it's Thanksgiving. Today actually is Thanksgiving, so you're listening to this probably at home. You're smelling all that food cooking. You may be even watching part of the game or the kickoff, maybe the Macy Thanksgiving Day Parade. But this is the first time ever we've had our dad in studio.
Yes.
So it's Thanksgiving for that.
Thank you.
I am Jay Up, your host for today. I'm here with my brother James
Gobble gobble.
and my dad Lee.
Happy Thanksgiving, everybody.
All right, so hopefully you are listening to us instead of watching the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade because let's just face it, just a bunch of floats going by.
I'll tell you what.
And then they stop every couple minutes and they dance.
I'm very glad that you mentioned this because I forgot. Last year, I spent Thanksgiving with my current fiance. Back then, she was my girlfriend, and we were in Arizona. I've never in my life ever watched a Thanksgiving Macy's Day Parade for more than 30 seconds because I'm like, okay, what is it? Her whole family was watching this, and I was like, hey, babe, is it okay if I go in the other room because the Detroit Lions game is on? And she's like, oh, what time does it start? And I was like, it just started. And she was like, well, we're going to watch this for, and I was like, I know, so can I just go into the other room and watch the game? I was like, this is not something that I'm, and she's like, well, just watch this for like 15 minutes. I was like, listen, I really want to watch my favorite team. She's like, okay. I said, how about this? How about record the Macy's Day Parade and watch it later? Because it really doesn't matter what time it goes on. This is like a live event that's like kind of means something like now. I was like, I don't want to watch the game 2 hours after it's already played. So then she's like, okay, I'll talk to my parents. I'm like, there's no time. Like, no, I'm watching this game somewhere. So I ended up watching the game. They watched it with me, and then they went back later and watched the Macy's Day Parade whenever I wasn't there. So
Now, that's a fan.
that's the reason why I'm marrying her. See.
That's a keeper.
I was like, is this for, like, people watch this? And they're like, we watch it every year. I'm like, no, you don't. And she's like, I thought that she was joking. I'm like, all right, well, it's close to 9:30, so, like, when can we change the game? Like, let's go.
Even like my wife Kelly will say, Thanksgiving Day Parade, like she doesn't ask me to choose between the two, but she's like always like, hey, will you record the
Right,
parade
because it's not
for the
time
kids,
sensitive.
right?
Yeah.
Spoiler alert, they never go back and watch it.
No.
Like Megan might watch it for about 15-20 minutes. Tyler 0.0 minutes.
Right.
Unless some kind of cool float comes out,
Like John
that he
Cena,
likes,
like a wrestler.
or an emoji,
Yeah.
then he'll come out and he'll watch
Mario.
just that. But
Yeah.
literally, it's just people driving by on floats, and then like every couple of minutes, just out of nowhere, it's like a flash scene, a flash mob scene or whatever,
Yeah.
and they just start dancing and singing in the middle of the street, and that's it.
But,
That's
like,
the whole,
for what? What's,
for hours.
No, what is it? What is it for?
I'm sure it started a long time ago with the Macy's department store. They probably put it on as something maybe during the Depression.
Promote it, make everybody happy. People go out there for hours and hours to get a
spot in
seat
line, yes.
to sit on a curb
to watch a float go by.
And it's freezing though, isn't it? It's in New York, isn't it?
In New
Yes.
York,
It's got to be like
I
25
don't get
degrees.
it. I don't get it.
But kudos to you, Macy's, for still sticking around. It could have been Woolworth, which means it would have been out of business years ago.
Could have
So
been
good
Sears,
for you guys.
Sears Grand.
Yeah.
Good for you guys.
All right, let's move on to football.
Let's
go.
move on. We have 3 games to break down later because it's Thanksgiving, and so those are going to be some really good matchups. But we're going to get through this review of last Thursday's game kind of quickly. Good game. Seahawks and Packers.
It was.
Came down to the last minute again, and it was like just battle back and forth. And Aaron Rodgers wasn't able to produce his magic at the very end. And Seahawks ended up winning 27-24, but a lot of good fantasy relevant stuff happened.
Depending on when you bet this game, it was Seahawks minus 2.5. It actually went to 3 right before kickoff, and that's where I got the Packers plus 3 points. So most of you probably pushed. Hopefully you didn't bet Green Bay when it was plus 2.5 and you got beat by the hook like always happens. But
these odds makers are unbelievable.
They're fantastic.
Yeah.
You get the later they get in the season,
Yeah.
they are like right on the nose.
They should get paid to do this.
That's why I start to tease my tickets. Like by like week 9 or 10, it's very hard to get those 1 or 2 point. Like there was 2 tickets I didn't tease this week, and both of them lost by one lost by 1, and the other one lost by 1.5. So it's like if you tease it and you get the extra 6 points, we're Las Vegas, you can do that. You can get an extra 6 points on each game. The odds obviously go down, but you have to take that extra touchdown. If you don't, you're going to be in for it and you're going to lose.
Yeah, I also got the line right before kickoff, which kind of sucks because I liked Seattle the whole time, and so instead of getting 2.5, I got -3. They ended up pushing, but I did have the over as well, so I count that as a win.
What do you think? Either one of these 2 teams, Seahawks now are going to be 5-5, Packers are 4-5-1, and they get to play the Minnesota Vikings this week. Any one of these teams have a shot at a wild card outside chance?
I think they're both still alive for a wild card. They obviously need to win the rest of the games out because they can't go in. I'm sorry. They don't have to win the rest of the games out, but they have to put together a pretty good winning streak.
Oh, for sure.
Because if they start getting into the 7-8 loss, they're not going to make the playoffs. So they have to keep winning here. But both teams are alive and well.
For NFC though, it's kind of wide open. With you have the Rams who are 10-1, they're easily winning that division.
Yeah.
Saints are 9-1, they're easily winning the division. Chicago Bears are now 7-3. And they play today against Detroit Lions. Winnable game for sure. But the East is where it's like really 6 wins right now is Washington. They're in the division.
But only one team's going to come out of that.
Okay, right. So one team comes out. Let's say it's Dallas. And then everyone else has 6 wins or less. Carolina has 6 wins. Seattle 5. Minnesota 5. Dallas 5. Like everyone's right there. So literally these 2 teams still have a really decent shot at rattling off like 4 out of the next 6 wins and getting to the playoffs.
They both could.
Well, Green Bay could still win the division.
Yeah, that's what's crazy.
Seattle
4-5-1, and Green Bay can still win the division.
And they've beaten Chicago once already. So if they beat them a second time later in the season, then they would have a tiebreaker against them if they can just put together some wins here.
Well, let's wait and see how
And
the
when you
NFC
have Aaron
breaks down.
Rodgers, you always are in this game.
You always have hope.
Happy to see that because I'm a Chris Carson owner, that even though Rashad Penny had a great game last week and Mike Davis actually filled in pretty well, that as soon as Chris Carson was healthy, he was the guy that was getting all the carries. He had 17 carries for 83 yards. The one thing I didn't like was at the end of the game when they played like the hurry-up offense.
Mike
when they were
Davis.
behind. It was Mike Davis in the game. It wasn't Penny or Carson.
See,
It was Mike Davis.
I think you would like that because you had picked Mike Davis for our wall bet.
I had no shot. It didn't matter what. Like, just him the last drive.
I'm just saying, at least he had a chance.
Yeah. Marquez Valdez-Scantling let that down.
Scantling had 1.8, so come on.
And then Wilson threw for 225 yards, which is probably his highest
That
output
might
of
be
the
high
year.
for the year.
Oh yeah, for sure. 225. he was on fire. I mean,
Cloud
again,
nine.
he only had 17 yards rushing as well. So the fact that they won this game says a lot for their defense.
And the story here to me is on the Green Bay side. You had Aaron Jones, who once again he led the team in carries. He had 11 compared to Jamal Williams' 1. He had a touchdown rushing, and then he also had a touchdown receiving with 5 catches. But Devontae Adams, once again, even though Seattle has a tough passing defense, and they've been pretty much shut down for the whole year, 10 catches, 166 yards, and he had 12 targets. He only missed 2 of them.
I would argue that Devontae Adams, to me, is either a number 1, 2, or maybe 3 overall wide receiver in the Dynasty League right now. If I was going to do a Dynasty startup, he's a top 3 guy. I would take him over Julio Jones because of age. I would take him, basically it's like Michael Thomas, Devontae Adams, and who? Like
Green, AJ Green. Maybe?
No,
was
because
AJ Green, Brown, and I mean,
Like,
I would
all
probably
those
put
guys-
Evans in the top 5
but
because of his age.
all those guys, like you just said, the Greens, Antonio Browns, and who's the third guy?
Odell Beckham and
And,
Hopkins.
Okay,
Oh,
Odell
those.
Beckham and Hopkins maybe, but all those other guys that used to be the pencil me in for the top 3 guy are now almost 30 or 31, and this new wave of receivers like the Hopkins and the Beckhams and the Devontae Adams, Michael Thomas, those guys to me are the top 5 guys now to own in Dynasty, I should say. But yeah, great game again from Devontae Adams. You can't, doesn't matter who the cornerbacks are. He always seems to get a long catch, always seems to find his way into an end zone, and if he doesn't, he's getting you 166 yards, and it's well worth it with 10 catches, 12 targets.
12 targets, yeah.
And that no other.
Rodgers loves looking for him.
The next wide receiver for target wise was Equinemius St. Brown with 4. 4 targets.
Ooh, I
no
like
one.
that. He's on my taxi squad.
Time to bump him up after 4
I was gonna
targets.
say, I might have to put him in a lineup.
That was because
ESB.
Randall Cobb didn't play again.
Right.
I don't know if he's going to play, but he has a good chance because they don't play till Sunday night next week. So
Valdez-Scantling with a huge disappointment. 3 targets, only 1 catch. The one thing that was a bright spot for Seattle was Doug Baldwin's first touchdown of the season.
yeah,
He actually came out before the game and said he declared himself like he felt 100% healthy for the first time all year. And he's been battling all these little minor injuries, missed a few games at the beginning of the season.
all on his knees.
Yeah, and he came out right before the game and said, you know what, this is the first time I felt like 100% healthy all season, and he had a good game. 10 targets, 7 catches for 52 and a touchdown. So
Yeah,
Good for him.
Seattle's one of these teams that is going to be sneaky if they do make the playoffs because their running game is so good. They're averaging over 152 yards on the ground, and when it gets cold in December, that's what teams start to do. And if you can't run the ball in the playoffs against a decent defense, then you're battling uphill. So the fact that they can run, as long as Russell Wilson keeps having these games where he's not making these mental mistakes, didn't throw any interceptions, didn't have any turnovers, they're going to be in every single game. The defense is good enough to keep them in it, and their running game is what's really going to set them apart in the December, January.
Yeah, trust me. The teams in the NFC, even the good ones like the Saints and the Rams, and these teams don't want to see Seattle in the playoffs.
Yeah,
because they do exactly what championships teams do: is they play good defense and they have a good running game.
They stay close.
Control, and they keep those high-powered offenses off the field.
Right. All they got to do is keep running the ball, third down conversions, and just keep the clock moving and maintain at least within a shooter's chance of collapsing. I'm sorry, of winning at the end.
Mm-hmm.
Just give them a chance, keep it within one score, and that's what they're really good at. So.
All right. So, is there anything else you want to break down on this, or should we move on to?
Well, you had our picks from this week was Russell Wilson. This is Jay's. Russell Wilson, Mike Davis, and Valdez Scantling.
They were picked blindfolded.
Blindfolded,
Can you at least throw that in there? I didn't just pick these
give
guys
them,
on
give them a
purpose.
break.
Well, I could have made it really bad because I could have taken Devontae Adams and everyone else, and I didn't.
Yeah,
so
you were second guessing it after you didn't do it too.
You finished with 31.4 points. I had Aaron Rodgers, Aaron Jones, and Tyler Lockett. I finished with 68 points. So doubled you up there. But again, we said the reason why is because he picked blindfolded. So again, you don't want to get punished on this show because you have to pick your. Now it just cost you 2 weeks losing that one.
Right, and it happened to land on karaoke, so I had to do a song again,
Which you love.
I don't mind singing. I don't love picking a song and writing lyrics. I'll tell you that.
Well, you're gonna have to do it. So hang on, let me pull this up for you. Are you ready to sing now or no?
Yeah, I can sing now. That's fine, and then we'll spin the wheel and pick our guys for Thanksgiving.
Yeah, there's a little ad going on here. This is our dad's first time being in studio for a karaoke. He's gonna serenade you, I think.
So yeah, I ended up picking a song by The Killers. It's called Mr. Brightside, and I changed it to Mr. Blindside. It's mostly about Russell Wilson, and even though they were down, he only threw for 225 yards. Didn't do a whole lot in the running game for me. So.
I know. So that's what. But see, like it was Scantling.
Scantling only had one catch.
Because he's been doing really well. He's
Right.
actually had a couple of games over 15, 20 points, and he got one. So.
But it's tough to put Marquez Valdez Scantling in a song.
Yeah. So you stay away from Marquez Valdez Scantling.
I did.
Okay. Ready?
Yeah. Coming out of my rage and I've been doing just fine. Gotta be down because I want the win. It started out with a pick. How did it end up like this? It was only a pick. It was only a pick. Now I'm falling asleep and he's taking a sack. Now I'm watching the game. It's the wrong running back. Now I'm going to bed and my stomach is sick and it's all in my head. But he's carrying the play now. He takes off his jersey now. Let me go. And I just can't look. I just can't look. It's killing me and taking control. Jealousy turning Hawks into the sea. Swimming through the penalties, let down Jay from TCP, but it's just the price I pay. The wheel of punishment is calling me. Open up my eager eyes, 'cause I'm Mr. Blindside.
Wow.
Yeah, sorry I got a little ahead there on the one.
Standing ovation. That's a lot better than I could have done for sure.
That's amazing. I see what goes into this, and I tell you, I would not want to have that as a punishment.
I'm
I
telling
think
you,
I'd rather get sprayed in with water
and be blindfolded. But
And
see,
blindfolded.
then that costs you for the next week because now you got to pick blindfolded.
It's almost like you're losing two.
Yeah, it's a double week punishment almost, you know. But congratulations, punishment served. Did great. Which moves us to our 3 games we have on the slate for Thanksgiving games. Not like the normal one. This is the week where instead of just picking a couple of guys, we decide to do a whole team together, and we'll get to that after we look at the game. So who's the first one in the morning there?
So the first one's 9:30 West Coast time, so it's a little earlier than the usual start times in the morning. You have the Chicago Bears at the Detroit Lions.
So you could still watch 2.5 hours of the Macy's Day Parade up until this point, just to let the Tidwell family and everyone else know. that if you just get up earlier, you can get your 2.5 hours into that. But
Right. You could probably see at least, I would say in 2.5 hours, you're going to see at least probably 14 floats.
14 floats and 3 flash mobs. If that's not enough to start your Thanksgiving,
How
I
many
don't know.
marching bands?
Okay, what's worse? Actually, now that we're talking about this, what do you think is worse? Marrying into a family that always does those stupid 5K turkey trot runs on Thanksgiving, or having to watch a Macy's Day Parade for 3 hours? Like, what's worse? If you had to, football's on.
To me, it's no question. Not that I'm against running, but I would rather
It's a turkey
sit at
trot.
home
It's a turkey trot, so you can like walk fast.
Yeah, but when you're doing that, you can't really check your phone for the scores. Whereas if I'm sitting in
It
front
might
of
be
Macy's
cold
Day,
or rainy or snowy.
You're outside.
The weather could be terrible.
So you're more about the elements.
Yeah.
if I'm inside, I can at
comfortable
least
couch. And
Okay, so you
look
know
at my phone for the scores.
You know what
Right.
game's going on, but you'd rather sit on the couch for 3.5 hours and watch the Macy's Day Parade or over the turkey trot?
Turkey trot's 3.5 hours long too.
About 3 hours, yeah.
Wow.
It's outside,
That's
and you
tough.
can't look at your phone for the scores.
No, I'll do with it.
Macy's Day? Okay, well, there you go. That's why I'm marrying her. It's a lesser of two.
It's a give and take.
Oh, for sure.
That's what being married is.
Okay,
So
so there
have-
you go. Life lessons from Lee Up.
That's right. 43 years. I learned.
There you go.
Being
Just got me
married?
trained.
Being married?
Yeah.
What's his name? Okay.
All right, so you have the Bears favored by 3.5 on the road in Detroit, and the over-under is 45. Now, there was some question about Trubisky because of his shoulder. I guess he injured it a little bit in that Minnesota game on Sunday night.
Yeah.
But they say that he's likely to play. I think he's going to play as well. It didn't look very serious. The one thing I don't like about this game that we kind of talked about off air is the turnaround. Like, the Bears were supposed to play at 10 a.m. on Sunday. They got flexed to the 5:20 game.
Mm-hmm.
And even though that game is at home, you're talking about ending that game at 10 o'clock at night, Chicago time.
Okay.
And now they turn around. They have to play at 9:30 in the morning, which is
Detroit.
yeah,
Detroit's kind of close.
11:30. But still, you only have that 3-day window to kind of.
They were in a tough game against Minnesota. It wasn't like they
Correct.
ran over
It was
Minnesota
physical.
and they were able to rest their starters. I mean, it kind of came down to the very last couple plays of the game. But I mean, they're 7-3 against the spread. The Bears are, and I just don't see. Here's the problem, and I agree with you on the short turnaround. That's going to be rough, but. You can run on Detroit, and Jordan Howard hasn't been doing much, and Cohen's just been okay, but they're going to be able to run the ball against Detroit, and who is going to score for Detroit? That's my concern. Chicago Bears defense is 4th in points allowed. They're 1st against the run. They're 3rd in defensive yards. So it's like they're only giving up 77 yards on the ground. No Kerryon Johnson in this game. So who's going to be the running back? LeGarrette Blount and Theo Riddick? And Marvin Jones, even if he does play, is still banged up from his knees. So it's like, how are they going to score, Jay?
Here's what I think is going to happen. Because if you look at their defenses, they're not their rushing, but their passing defenses, they're almost identical.
Detroit's 14th and Chicago's 12th.
Yeah, Detroit's only giving up 240 yards to the air, and Chicago's giving up 236 yards to the air. So to me, that's kind of a wash. Like I don't think they're going to be able to throw all over.
But why is
each
that?
other.
Why is that? Because Detroit's always down. So teams stop throwing and they start to run against us because the run defense is what? Well, how many yards is Detroit giving up on the ground?
125.
125 yards on the ground. Okay, so Cohen's going to run for 75 and Howard's going to run for another 75. So like Trubisky's not going to have to throw the ball 40 times a game. I think this is going to be a clock management game for Chicago. They're just going to hand off. I don't see it being a very high scoring game. The over-under is 45. I hate betting under, but I mean this is one of those games I could see Chicago winning like 21-17.
I could see Theo Riddick having a good game in this game, though.
I thought that last week and that didn't happen, so I'm off Theo Riddick until
It was his first game back from injury.
don't care.
I'm just wondering what the thought process is for the Bears players. I mean, Detroit plays every year on Thanksgiving, like Dallas does.
Right.
And when you're on these other teams, it's like you really want to spend it with your family. You
Yeah.
really want to go to Detroit and play a football game. I mean,
You've been to Detroit before. Like how nice is that area?
No, the area that the stadium's in is really nice.
yeah, it's nice.
It's downtown.
right next to where the Tigers play.
Yeah, it's right next to Comerica Park, and those two areas, it's super clean. There's bars everywhere around there. You would think that you're in Arizona or Cal.
It's
It's just
10 miles out. It's
Right.
a little rough. And
It's
I
like
wouldn't
8
wanna-
mile?
I wouldn't. Yeah,
Yes.
I wouldn't want to walk it.
We didn't
in
cross over
nighttime.
8 Mile when we were there.
No.
And
And
remember
we-
it was snowing.
Yeah.
I got off the plane. I remember with like a lightweight jacket on, and as we landed, I glanced over and it was snow and I was like, oh my god, we need to go to the store and get a heavy jacket because
beanie, yeah.
I'm not prepared for this weather for sure.
Right to Burlington Coat Factory.
I don't know where we went, but remember the bar that we went to? You made me go to, and I was like, Dad, there was not a street sign or any kind of light anywhere around this place, and in complete darkness. He's like, how about this place for pizza? And I'm like, there's so many other places I'd rather go right now, and it wasn't like a chain. We went in there, and it was the most awkward meal I've ever had in my life. It was just
Best pizza in Detroit.
I was holding on my wallet like I was white knuckling my wallet the entire time.
So you have to take adventures. I mean,
But I want to live.
What a great story, though.
Yeah.
To tell their
You're
grandkids.
still talking about
I
it.
went to Detroit one time. and
We
lived.
made it. We made it.
Yeah.
We made it out.
Once in a lifetime.
So yeah, I just don't think that Chicago in this game particularly has to do anything great to win the game, and the defense is going to hold them in it. So they'll be able to rotate some players on defense. I don't think it's going to be a shootout. I don't think they're going to be worn down. The short turnaround scares me a little bit, but I just don't see how Detroit's going to score in this game. So I will take the Bears minus the 3.5 or 4 or whatever. As long as it stays under a touchdown, I'm taking Chicago.
To me, I'm the opposite. I like the hook. If I'm going to get Detroit at 3.5, if it's 3, I'm probably going to stay away. But if it's 3.5, I'm taking Detroit with those points.
Who do you like?
I'd take Lions in 3.5. I got
Really?
There you
I
go.
just,
Why?
I just
There you
think
go.
that the Bears, that they had a tough game against Minnesota.
Very
just
physical.
a little letdown game.
Back-to-back
I don't
division
think that
games.
they're really worried about the Lions. They figure we can just show up, whatever. And Lions always play good on Thanksgiving. At least, they did when.
Well,
they
there
had
was
Barry
there was a good 6-year or 7-year stretch on Thanksgiving, and now it continues. It seems like whoever they pencil in for the Detroit Lions to play on Thanksgiving happens to be a top 3 team in the league every year. It was like the Patriots. Then it was when Green Bay was really good. Then now that we finally get the Bears, and I'm like, okay, we have a winnable game, and now they're 7-3. It's like whoever plays Detroit on Thanksgiving always seems to be 4 or 5 games above 500. So. This
So
is
what I'm
an
gonna do-
elite defense here.
Now that you just leaked that info out, what I'm going to do is next year wait and see who they play, and then I'm going to go bet them
Over.
to win the division or over wins.
Over and win total. I'm telling you, it's literally, if you look back 7 straight years, we haven't played one team, maybe one out of the last 7 years, that has either a 50-50 winning record, 500 winning record, or below. There's not one team. I dare you to find them. Go
All
ahead.
right, let's move on to the
And then they give you cupcakes every single year, like Dallas.
cupcakes. They're leading the
Cupcakes.
division, just like
With
the Bears
no
are.
quarterback and no
receivers,
now.
no
Oh,
running
like we're
backs,
supposed to know that?
All I'm saying is that's how it ends up working out.
We were expecting Alex Smith to get Joe Theismann in that game just because he was there, right?
All I'm saying is the teams that you guys get to play somehow always ends up working out for you, and you get to play now a team without a starting quarterback. So
Okay, so the 1:30 game, 1:30 West Coast time is Washington Redskins at the Dallas Cowboys. As you just kind of alluded to, Alex Smith is out for a long time.
Yeah,
I don't even
that
want
was
to
sad.
put a number on it.
I
how
don't.
long he's gonna be out for.
I don't think
Sad
he's
to
gonna.
watch.
I don't think he's gonna come back. It was a tibula fibula full break, and it actually broke through his skin.
Compound fracture, they
Yeah.
said. Yeah, so it broke through his skin.
Did you hear the stats on everything though?
It was 33 years.
Yeah. So
to the
here's
day.
a couple of fun stats here. So not fun for Alex Smith. Alex Smith, broken tibula fibula, 33 years to the exact date, like you just said. It was the exact same score at the end of the game as it was when Theismann's
Really?
injury. Same score, 23-21 final. Okay,
Wow.
and that was on a missed field goal at the end to get that. It was within 4 yards on the field from where Theismann got his injury. It was on the 42-yard line or whatever instead of the 46-yard line, so it was almost the same thing. Also, the person that caused the injury or was a part of that play was the only 3-time defensive MVP award winner, and it was Lawrence Taylor. And this one was
J.J.
the
Watt.
only 3-time defensive player of the year. J.J. Watt was involved on the play. Literally, like how eerie is that? 30
So
like
an All-Pro took out a Washington Redskins running back in the same exact fashion. It looked just as gruesome as the Joe Theismann one. I feel for Alex Smith. If I'm the Washington Redskins, I probably don't invite Theismann back to the field. Just stay at home and watch the game.
it's so eerie. Like a player, 3-time defensive player, all the similarities is like ridiculous, and the fact that the game ended in the same final score is just even more crazy. But yeah,
I actually like Alex Smith a lot, though. I actually picked him in our bowl predictions to be the best quarterback in that division and lead in fantasy points. So I thought he was going to have a pretty big year. He does check down a lot, but I still thought he was a good game manager, and I thought he was a good quarterback. So I do feel bad for him.
yeah. I mean, it seems like he's a good guy, but hopefully he can bounce back. Theismann never did, and he was around the same age. I think he was 1 year older. So we'll see what happens with him.
When you dig deeper into this game, though, obviously Alex Smith is a huge, huge loss for the Washington Redskins, but you look at their stats, and they're pretty similar.
Mm-hmm.
Dallas is putting up 20 points per game, and Washington's putting up 19.7.
Mm-hmm.
And then their defense, points allowed, Dallas is allowing 19 points, and Washington's allowing 19.8. Their defenses are really similar as far as like what they're giving up rushing, what they're giving up passing. The one difference is that Dallas runs a little bit better than Washington does. They have Zeke Elliott. Washington has Adrian Peterson.
But Washington's 12th in rushing, and Dallas is 4th.
Right.
But let's say their defense is rushing defense. Washington's number 6, Dallas is number 5. So
Right.
you can't really run on either one of these two teams. So, but you have Zeke versus Adrian Peterson. I'll take I'll take Zeke.
Yeah.
Did you see Colt McCoy after the game tells the locker room?
He wins a lot.
Don't worry, you guys are in good hands. I promise. Like you guys are in good hands. There's nothing to worry about here.
I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's got a great attitude.
Yeah, until they went and signed Mark Sanchez.
To back him
Just
up.
in case
Yeah,
he
but
gets
they
hurt.
signed Mark Sanchez because they said that he could be ready to know the playbook by this Thursday. Not that he's going to start, but
Yeah.
he has 3 ties to the offense of coordinators that he worked with in the past. So it was like the quarterback's coach, one of them was an assistant coach, and the other one was his quarterback on the same team as him. So he's got 3 ties to the team. He knows the playbook pretty well, so we'll see what
I'd
happens.
have to do a little bit of digging on this, but I'm pretty sure, being a Cowboys fan, I'm pretty sure that Colt McCoy actually has played against Dallas on Thanksgiving, and they beat us.
Wow.
I don't remember which year it was, but Colt McCoy had to step in for, I think, maybe RG3 who was hurt.
Okay, that sounds about right.
I'm not 100% positive, but I remember Colt McCoy having a really good game. This is a homecoming for him because he played at UT.
Yep.
And so he's got a lot of family there in Texas. That's where he's from. So he's going to have family there,
So
and
do
he's
you-
going to feel comfortable in Dallas. So
Do you think Dallas should be favored by 7.5 points?
when
though?
I saw that line, I said, that is absolutely ridiculous.
Right.
7.5 points is
For
absolutely ridiculous.
For a division game, that's a lot of points, even with Colt McCoy at quarterback.
To me, this line should have been like 4. It should have been like one of those games where they think it's going to be either
Field goal.
24-20 or 21-17. Like one of those. Like there's no way that they should be favored by this many points.
Yeah,
If I'm betting
I'd
this-
take Washington.
If I'm betting this, I would bet down the 0.5 point to make it 7, just in case Dallas wins by a touchdown. But I can't take Washington on the road with Colt McCoy at quarterback. Sorry.
That 40, the number's 40 for over.
Yeah.
Yeah, 40.5.
That's almost like right on the money. It's
Right.
So they think that Dallas is going to win by more than a touchdown, and it's going to go under 40. So they think that
Same
Washington's going to
as
score like 10.
yeah.
But one defensive touchdown, one breakdown, one long catch to Maurice Harris or something like that, and then they're right back in it.
They played a very close game just a couple weeks ago, and Washington ended up winning. Dallas went for the field goal for the tie,
Yeah.
and ended up missing it because of a bogus penalty, and so they ended up losing that game. But it was still a close game.
Bogus penalty.
Yeah, the snapper's been doing it for 14 years. All of a sudden now it's a penalty.
Well, you
yeah,
can't
he-
just sit there and play with the ball.
14 straight years he's done that.
Can't play with the ball. What's the next game?
All right, next game is actually the best of all the Thursday games.
Is
It's the
it?
Thursday
For fantasy relevance,
for
it is.
fantasy
Yeah.
relevance, and this is a fantasy show,
It's
baby.
the only game I'm going to sit and definitely watch the whole thing from start
Wow,
to
not
finish.
the Lions Bears might have been.
I'll get up and help.
He'll be
cook
taking
a
a
little
nap.
bit.
He's going to flip back and forth between the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. That's what he's going to do.
I'm definitely going to watch
Yeah,
it.
Mom's gonna be like, Dad, can we please, Lee, can we please watch the Lions game? He's like, No, I want to watch Macy's Day
I
Parade.
should say, can you come in and help me make the muffins or biscuits or whatever? That's what
Biscuits
I'll
and muffins. That's what happens
There
on
you go.
Thanksgiving. Go ahead.
Atlanta Falcons at the New Orleans Saints. This is another division game, so we have 3 division games on Thanksgiving. I'm thankful for that,
Yes.
because they should all be good games. But the only difference is New Orleans is favored by 13 points, and the over is 60.5.
It opened up at 59, so it's already been up a 1.5. And
Well, especially after last Monday, everyone thinks
after
it's going to be a
watching the
repeat.
Rams Kansas City and 60 wasn't.
Well, the
63.
yeah,
The
60,
highest ever?
64 went to, and it still went
Wow.
what, 90? No, went 100. and
Truth
something.
be told, they
105.
could have put that over under at 75, and I still probably would have bet the over.
Yeah, I would have thought about it. I think the
I would have
Saints.
second guessed it, but I probably would have stuck with the over.
The Saints have put up 40 points or more, I think it was like 6 out of the last 7 games, I think that was the stat was that I saw. So if you're penciling in Saints of this game to score 40, that means Atlanta only has to score 21. That's very doable.
Right.
Very doable. So Atlanta, 6th in total yards on offense. They're 2nd in passing yards. But pass defense, 29th in the league in passing defense, while New Orleans is 30th. I'm sorry, 27th. So 27th for New Orleans, Atlanta 29th. So expect a lot of passing and a lot of yardage through the air. New Orleans is 1st in points scored on the year at 37.8 points they're averaging per year.
Is that the highest?
Yes,
That's
first.
The highest ever? Wow.
First and 3rd in total yards. They're 1st in time of possession. Their run defense is now 2nd, Jay. Remember they were 1st for a long, long time?
Mm-hmm.
Now they are 2nd, 77.9 yards. There's another team that's giving up 77.8 yards, literally by 0.1 yards.
That damn Adams screwed up their.
What team do you think it is the first?
Is it Baltimore?
I think isn't it Buffalo, did I say on the other
I
episode?
think it's Buffalo.
Yeah, I don't know. I have to look later, but
Well, here's some stats for you
they're falling.
as far as fantasy relevance. Obviously, guys are going to start and sit. We always talk about, you see 60 points, you're going to start mostly everybody. But when you break it down, New Orleans is the easiest matchup for quarterbacks. They're giving up the most fantasy points to quarterbacks. Atlanta's giving up the 3rd easiest. So they're giving up the 3rd most points for quarterbacks. So play Breeze with confidence, play Matt
Right.
Ryan with confidence.
But see, that stat wasn't true last week with Carson Wentz. We all were saying
That was
Carson Wentz.
that was a bad game by Carson Wentz. Like if you watch the game, he looked terrible. Like he was overthrowing Zach Ertz, who's the tallest guy they have as a receiver. And they looked. I think that was Wentz's fault. I think Wentz just had a bad game.
Okay. I mean, it's possible, but when you're going
There's
against
no way
a
New
team
Orleans
that
turns it around that fast.
they can't stop anyone, and then all of a sudden they, the whole Carson Wentz, all those, that was terrible. I was waiting for Nick Foles to come in there, but
The easiest matchup for running back, so the 5th easiest is Atlanta.
okay. So you
So
like
New Orleans shuts down the run.
Kamara and Ingram.
Both guys, though.
yeah.
I'm saying have confidence in both those guys. And then New Orleans, so this is a great one too, for easiest matchups for wide receivers. New Orleans, easiest matchup for wide receivers. Atlanta, second easiest matchup for wide receivers.
Wow.
So I mean,
you gotta bet the over.
I was just gonna say, is there in any realm in any way are you betting the under in this game?
No way.
I would say that
No.
whatever I bet for the early games, I'm going to tie into the over for this game. And in case any of those tickets are live, I'll be able to hedge it. And I probably won't. I'll probably bet it again at the over. Because there's no chance this game's going under.
So what do you do on the other side of the ball? You talked about the run game. So New Orleans, as far as fantasy points, is the 3rd hardest matchup for running backs.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like Ito Smith even in your flex spot. But
Tevin
Coleman, he gets receptions, so I
Yeah.
think that's what's going to bail him out. It's not so much the running stats, it's more the receiving stats.
You're
for Tevin
not
Coleman.
okay with playing Ito Smith knowing that they're going to be down and they're going to be using a lot of both running backs in the passing game?
I'm not comfortable playing Ito Smith.
I wouldn't say
I think there's
comfortable,
better options out there.
Yeah, but if you have Kareem Hunt's on a bye, you have Todd Gurley's on a bye. Those are 2 top guys. You might have to play Ito Smith.
There's
if you
got to
have
be
a
somebody
choice.
better.
Okay.
And then
Good luck with that then.
New Orleans is the 3rd toughest matchup for tight ends, so don't expect a huge game from Austin Hooper because that's the one thing they do play well is the tight end in New Orleans.
Yeah, I am benching Austin Hooper for Jordan Reed now. I can finally trust after 1 game.
Well, there you go. Everybody else, though, as far as looking at the main guys, Calvin Ridley says is questionable and Traquan Smith is questionable. I believe they both play. That's just
Traquan Smith breakout game for him. I mean, he finally did what we thought he was going to do with New Orleans.
I called that. I don't think I'll call on the air, but I told you because you were talking
Yes.
about playing Traquan Smith.
But 2 weeks ago, he
And I
had
said
a
zero. I said,
Yeah,
I don't
zero,
care.
1 target and 0 catches.
I
I'm
said-
like, okay, forget it. That was a flash in the
No,
pan.
I said I don't care. We got 0 the week before. I said you got to play him this week. I said I have a good feeling about him. I remember I told you.
35 points on my bench.
Oh, you didn't play him?
benched him, huh?
No,
I started him in all.
You
those
still
places.
won though, right?
I still won.
So who cares? See, he's wasting away on your bench. You don't even need him. That's how deep you are.
Trade him.
Okay, so for this week, since there are 3 games, which is 6 teams, Jay and I are going to do the punishments, and we picked our players off air because it took a little while. A lot of strategy to this because you can only pick 1 guy per team. So if you took the running back from New Orleans, you couldn't pick Drew Brees, so on and so forth. I drew the number 1 pick. Again, I took, with the number 1 pick, Ezekiel Elliott. And Jay, you were next.
I took Alvin Kamara.
Okay, and then I went Julio Jones for Atlanta.
And then I went with Kenny Galladay from Detroit.
You did. I went Michael Thomas from the Saints for my 3rd pick.
And then I went with Trey Burton, who to me looked like the best tight end left.
Yeah, that was sketchy because there's not many tight ends here. Right after Trey Burton, I went Jordan Reed for my tight end, and I was back on you for number 8 pick.
That left me with Adrian Peterson as my 2nd running back.
And then Cohen for James.
And then I took Amari Cooper, which is my Dallas player.
And I was stuck with Matt Stafford at home against the Chicago Bears for my quarterback, which left you.
Which led me Matt Ryan, which is
So-
what I had to go with because after I took Kamara with my 2nd pick, I took myself out of the Drew Brees
So no Drew
sweepstakes.
Brees.
No Drew, yeah, this is crazy. No Drew Brees, but the reason why I did that is so I can get Michael Thomas. I thought he was the best wide receiver option of the entire day, him and Julio. So for James, it's Matt Stafford, Ezekiel Elliott, Tariq Cohen, Michael Thomas, Julio Jones, and Jordan Reed. For Jay's side is Matt Ryan, Alvin Kamara, Adrian Peterson, Kenny Galladay, Amari Cooper, and Trey Burton. So it's full roster, all systems go. This is one of those where one of these guys could absolutely just score 50 points, and it might not get you the win because there's so many other guys that are good, relevant guys. So you need a huge game, in my opinion, out of Amari Cooper. If you don't, then it's going to be a long day for you. Which brings us to spinning the wheel of punishment, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
So now we know our teams. We're going to get the wheel of punishment up on the table.
There you go.
We're going to have our special guest actually spin it for us to see what our punishment for next week is.
So hard. Right. Let's lean up and see what we got. It's the Lego sit. So we're going to get a bunch of pieces of Legos, and you're going to have to sit on them for the entire punishment. Moving around on it, of course, is going to be very uncomfortable. So that's not, I don't mind that punishment so much.
No, but you know what? After like 20 minutes, it's probably going to be somewhat painful.
Yeah, we're not doing pads or anything like that. Like, it's just going to be straight on
Stepping
sitting
on a Lego hurts. If you're like walking on there and you step on a Lego, it hurts.
See,
so sitting on it for 30 minutes?
I would say stepping on them will be worse if we heighten the table for the rest of the episode and you had to kind of like keep your legs. I think this is what it should be. You have the option. The team that wins can have the option to make the person sit or stand. Because I think if you stood on them, we don't have our shoes on, so you're standing there and the entire punishment you have to kind of do the little leg movement and just keep moving. I think that would be a lot funnier than just sitting. Because sitting you can kind of stay still. You know what I mean?
Okay, so the winner gets
a pick. Yeah,
that's fine.
You're definitely standing if I win. Just to let you know.
Glad I'm not involved in that.
Yeah, that would kind of hurt, especially your feet. You have a foot issue in your right foot. That would not feel good.
That'd be hurting.
It's very tender.
It's very tender.
Tender foot.
So that'll be the punishment for next week. Wish us luck. What else do we need to add to this episode? Anything else you guys want to add?
No, because you know what? Instead of being mad about something and doing what are you mad about, we're thankful. It's Thanksgiving. Enjoy it with your family. Have a great time. I am very thankful, like I said before, of having our dad in the studio. I think it's a perfect timing. Is right at Thanksgiving to have him in there is perfect.
Yeah.
I'm very thankful for both my sons.
Oh, wow.
Very proud
There you
of
go.
them.
Hey, thanks, Dad. Appreciate it. Love you
Yeah,
guys.
it's kind of nice to see what they do here. It's pretty cool.
The behind the
I
scenes.
listen on the radio all the time, but
He didn't realize how much prep went into it.
there's a lot of prep that goes into this.
Want to do a shout out for the company, Jay, for him?
Yeah, as you see, if you're watching us on YouTube, which this episode airs on YouTube every single week, it gets posted Thursday mornings at around 6 o'clock in the morning. He's representing Storm. So
That's right. Storm Products.
I don't know if
Best
you know this or
bowling
not, but
company in the world.
he's kind of a big deal in the bowling world.
Yes, he is.
If you don't, maybe Google Lee up. You'll see how much of a big deal he is. But he's representing Storm. So maybe they'll realize how much this is helping them.
Maybe.
I mean, you're going to see a boost in sales probably.
Great company
Yeah.
to work for, I'll tell you that.
#1 bowling company in the world.
Yeah.
There you go. And he
High
worked
performance balls.
high performance balls.
That's what we're all about at
We're all
TCP is
about
high performance balls.
Yeah, outside of the Storm thing, we're all about high performance balls.
Young and aggressive and high performance balls are 2 new t-shirts.
All right, guys, ready to crack one?
Let's crack it.
it.